it does feel quite doom and gloom at the moment, and I would like to try and focus on some positives, if indeed there are some.
Well, I think there are some positives about this discussion, actually. I think if you think about the economic discussion over recent years, then it's often been about financial markets or quantitative easing or interest rates or whatever. So this initial part of a discussion about wages and productivity, I think, represents something of a welcome shift away from that previous discussion. The problem, I think, becomes when you look at the solutions that are being suggested. And I think the Conservative Party conference this week has been a case in point, because I noted last week that The Spectator, which is obviously to the Conservative end of things, its pre-conference article said the Tories are running on empty. They've no ideas and no real, no real understanding of how it is that they can conquer some of these problems. And I think that was very much true of the conference. There's a distinct lack of ideas, because when it comes to things like productivity, which I think is a very important discussion, because raising productive output in the economy and society is one of the ways of increasing wages, I think that the discussion becomes too narrow. I think there's not enough discussion about the type of research that we need to do, about the type of innovation that we need, and about, to be honest, the type of risk-taking, the risk-taking mentality that we need to adopt as a society in order to be able to achieve these things.
Nabila.
Well, I couldn't agree with Alistair's anymore with his analysis on Boris Johnson and the speech he made at the Tory party conference, so much so that he was criticised for being economically illiterate, and the lack of substance was very clear for everybody to see. And I think the main criticism of weak politicians is that they can make pledges, but they really don't know how to apply these pledges in the real world. And politics has a lot more to do with economics than just bland platitudes about reducing poverty. And that's certainly a feeling that the current Tory government lacks expertise in numerous areas, including economics. And I think certainly Boris Johnson is a very entertaining individual, but you wouldn't necessarily trust him with one of the largest economies in the world. And yes, Rishi Sunak appears to be very bright and indeed very accomplished. But again, I think the criticism that's about him is that he's missing the major problems that are emerging in the economy, not least of all inflation. And I think we might, we need to go back to the emergence of society after the coronavirus pandemic. We hope that we get out of there at some point, but the danger is to use the horror of the pandemic over the last year or more as an excuse for the growing problems at large.
Welcome to the GB News YouTube channel. You can watch us live 24 hours a day, catch up on your favourite shows, and join in the conversation in the comments below.
Don't forget to subscribe and you'll never miss any of our exclusive content.